Okay, well, as probably the only person on this council that was involved in the original ombudsman negotiation and enactment, I can honestly say that from the very start, it was my impression that all the parties felt that negotiation among themselves was the best way to achieve any amendment to the statute. Again, appealing to Superior Court is no panacea. It's not going to be a decision based on whether this is right or wrong. It's going to be a decision based on whether the arbitrator exceeded his authority. So, you know, we'll be lucky to get this before the court for a decision somewhere 4 to 6 months. In the meantime, we do have labor negotiations going on, but, you know, this is a fork in the road. It's going to be extremely hard to negotiate with one hand and saying we're going to go to court with the other. But because the deadline's tomorrow, it would be very hard for this council to just turn its back on that alternative. But there are no winners on this thing. And, you know, I've heard somebody say to the U.S. Supreme Court, ha ha, this is going to cost $20,000 to $40,000. What do you think if it could go to the U.S. Supreme Court? It would go. The hope still is that obviously if you negotiate something, it's set in rock and nobody's going to appeal it. But be that as it may, we have the choice to make in front of us and we're going to make it. So I'm going to call for a roll call vote on items S1A and B. Prepare to vote. John? Well, or is that a motion? What do you want to do on that, Mike?
No, but it would be a recorded vote.
Should we do them separate or one at a time?
I think you could probably do them at the same time.
Okay, John?
I'm just going to speak on the motion. We basically have two choices. We either can appeal and repeal or not appeal we either appeal and don't repeal the original ordinance, or we don't appeal and we do repeal the 2010 ordinance. And I have some of the same concerns that Councilmember Apple and Corker brought up. My primary goal is how do we get to a better ombudsman faster. I'm really concerned about Superior Court. We have to go there, we have to win, and then we have to withstand a guild appeal, which is their right. And then, even if we get that, we just go right back to PERC, to square one, and start the same unfair labor practice that we just lost over again.
Wait a sec, John. Now look, ladies and gentlemen, you all have been here before countless times. In fact, PGL's is like 5 out of 8. I don't need to hear your comments anymore. We know your opinion. So please, keep your thoughts to yourself and let the councilman speak. If you can't do that, leave. You're being rude.
It's funny.
I want to say this again.
My hearing is so bad I didn't hear any of that, Joe, but thanks. So what's going to get us there quicker? I think we have to, if we negotiate with the guild and we don't get what we want, and clearly this council is united. We do not want another contract that does not include increased ombudsman authority. If we don't get that, we don't have to approve the contract. It will go to arbitration. In arbitration, Councilmember Rush pointed out that that's not any more certain a path than what we're going on now. But we will actually get a decision. And there's also a possibility the arbitrator could give us more than we want, more power to the ombudsman than we're requesting. Because once it's in the hands of the arbitrator, they can do whatever they want with it. They will compare us to police oversight, other parts of the state, on the west side, and come back with a decision. The other avenue, as Councilmember McLaughlin mentioned, is going to the state legislature to look for some sort of legislative remedy that allows cities to institute police oversight in a way that they can't now with the way our labor laws are set up. One of the problems with this case is our police guild contract directly references the ombudsman. That's why it's not necessarily comparable to what's going on in Seattle or what's going on in other states, in other cities in the state of Washington, because our contract is unique. It's not the exact same contract that other cities have. So we have to be really confident that when we take our complaint to the Superior Court, we're also taking that contract and our arguments from PERC and feeling like we have a chance of winning there or creating a precedent that is going to move us forward. I'm sympathetic to the idea of us exhausting our appeal process in order to go to the legislature. I don't know, it's not clear to me if those things are mutually exclusive, if we can't go to the legislature and advocate for this without a Superior Court decision. I'm just really concerned about you losing another year on this issue. I don't want to lose another year on this issue. We've been, I think there's issues with putting something on the ballot if we do it. I still think a citizen's ballot measure has a lot of validity. People have said, well, how do you know if that's going to be legal, if that's not going to be thrown out in court? I don't. But if you can get 10, 20, 30, 40,000 voters in this city to be heard on this issue, it's a whole different sort of message to send than just 7 council members. So with all those considerations, I have a hard time voting for the appeal tonight because I really feel that if I get right down to it, that it's going to add more months onto this issue, not less. Even though I feel the injustice of not having the ombudsman is something I want to fight as hard as I can, I'm not sure this is the right avenue for it.
Nancy?
As I think about this even more, and I'm out there aware of what our men and women in uniform, many of them not at all adverse to having a strong ombudsman oversight. In fact, we struggle with the issue of during negotiations, what could we give them what do we have to give in exchange for the authority that we're looking for in a police ombudsman? And I kind of see it differently because I'm going like, in this harsh economy, we don't have anything of monetary value to give them, or we don't, I don't think we should be giving away more vacation days because that lowers the level of service to our citizens, and we're short on police officers as it is. And yet I struggle with the thought that I feel like, what we can give them through a strong police ombudsman is a sense of protection, the protection that comes from good oversight that many officers are very open to having and are very receptive of it and don't see it as something to fear, but rather as something to embrace. And so as we continue down this road, if we would have the votes to appeal and then through negotiations, if we could get our heads together and the police guild leadership could see the value of strengthening our police ombudsman and negotiate that would not cost taxpayers any more than we've already negotiated in recent past contracts due to the economy, then I think we're in a position that we could always just drop the appeal if we can get it made, get something in the works between now and everything. So to me, it's not necessarily one or the other. I think we can work both roads at the same time. And I think that's important for us to note. So I'm still hoping that we can get this passed tonight. Thank you.
I'd just like to reiterate, I think the most important thing to do is to recognize in our existing contract the need to sit down and negotiate. I just can't imagine the Guild not being sensitive to the issues that have been a part of the media, a part of what this debate is going on. I'm afraid with the appeal, we can waste up to 2 years and be right back where we are. And we'd be spending a lot of money, the type of money that can make the difference between an arts and a youth commission and other things that we're struggling with. The ability to have it a part of good faith negotiations right now, and our ability, even if there is not agreement, to go to binding arbitration, I think gives us an opportunity within 6 to 8 months to be at a point that I think will be an equally impressive case before the legislature. And I'm just absolutely convinced with the appeal, it defaults on any meaningful opportunity for negotiation. And I just don't want to see us go for 2 years of having this type of debate go on without moving closer to a situation that creates the accountability that I think we're all looking for.
John?
I don't really have anything more of substance to say on the vote. I just want to make it known that Mr. Piccolo did a lot of work, and the city's attorney's office, Mr. Piccolo did a lot of work giving us everything we need to make this choice tonight, and it's 100% the choice of the council. We went out and got 2 different outside attorneys' opinions. We were given every opportunity to have what we needed voted on because Mr. Piccolo took the action swiftly and completely to get the resolutions and ordinance ready. So I just want to publicly acknowledge my thanks for him because it's a difficult issue having 7 different people be your client, and we needed all the things at our disposal in order to get to where we are, to the decision we're about to make tonight, and he facilitated that.
Really quick.
Amber?
I'll be really quick. I don't want to be the last word, but I just wanted to say a few words. I appreciate what everyone said tonight. I really wanted to listen. I came here tonight to listen to my fellow council members and really hear all the different points of view because I think Councilman Snyder said it best when we have these 2 different paths, and they're each fraught with challenges. In one way, we could delay through appealing. We might get somewhere, but if we do, we get right back to PERC. If we're going down negotiations, we're putting it in the hands. Obviously, we've articulated to the administration that we really want this to be an item, a prioritized item that we're negotiating with the Guild. What comes back to us, we'll have to see next year. I get really worried as Councilman Corker talks about the time frame that this an appeal could go down. And I mean, pragmatically, I want us to have independent investigation for our ombudsman as soon as we can. And I think that that delaying this could miss out on an opportunity to get that next year. So I think I'm at this point I would be in favor of not supporting these resolutions.
Mr. Rush?
I need to make a disclosure. The contract is contemplated tonight is with Ms. Rachel Wills. I accepted a campaign contribution from her 4 years ago.
Okay, my turn. Sometimes you have to go with your gut feeling, and sometimes you also listen to your fellow council members. If the appeal would be a declaratory judgment from the court very rapidly, yea or nay on this ordinance, I think that it would merit consideration. What all this appeal does is ask the Superior Court whether the arbitrator exceeded his authority. I can tell you right now, courts favor arbitrators. They don't like anything that keeps things in their court. So the chance of us succeeding in this appeal, not on whether or not the ordinance is valid, just on whether or not the arbitrator could make his decision, is slim. If we get the filing, the fact we're not having a jury trial bodes well, except this is in Superior Court, and their calendars go can go 8 months, a year, beyond that, and then if you prevail, you always risk the other side appealing. We have an opportunity right now, not just as an aside trying to reopen a contract, but going into a contract. It's for sure that any negotiated agreement on ombudsman that's approved by this council, there'll be no appeal, there'll be no debate, it'll be what it is. That's a certitude. The contract negotiations have not commenced in earnest yet, but it's not foreseeable that they're going to conclude anytime past the 6-8 months of Superior Court. This isn't an equal path. If you want to go down the appeal route, then you're pretty much shrinking your flexibility and your good faith on the negotiation route. Obviously, we go down the negotiation route, then we're not going to go down the appeal route. So it's a balance, but it's not an equal balance. The more you go one way, the less you're going to go the other way. The trouble is with the appeal, we don't know what we're going to end up with. We're not going to end up with an agreement, and even if somehow we do, we're going to have to go back through PERC to go that route. In the meantime, we'll have lost the opportunity to negotiate. You know, public pressure is great, and it's been on this council for a year, but I have to say, I don't see the same amount of pressure on the Guild. I mean, I see a lot of people here that have been here time after time telling us, you do something. Well, we're one half of this equation. And I would like to see if that much pressure has been applied to the other side of this deal. Now, we've spent money. No, I'm not taking testimony. We've had it. We've had a lot of testimony. We spent money. We pursued this till God knows what. And yeah, I've had people call and say, spend whatever it takes. Well, I hope he's got, I don't know, 50 grand to bring down here. But the fact is, an appeal will not achieve a declaratory judgment, and that's what we need. Whenever that decision's made, it will only be whether or not the arbitrator had authority to make the decision. And that's not going to really do us much good, because then we're just going to have to go down the road of PERC again. So we have considered this. We've spent time. We brought in outside counsel. It's time to make a decision. So with regard to items S1A and B, prepare to vote. Items S1A and B are defeated by a vote of 2 to 5. We now move to Ordinance C34760. Prepare to vote.
Wait.
Oop. Try again. Okay. With regard to Ordinance C34760, prepare to vote. Okay, well, that's good.
Well, Amber, you
All
got your way.
Try one more time.
I got mine in.
Sorry, didn't get mine.
Let's try this again. Maybe by Halloween we'll get it figured out. Thank you. Ordinance C34760 passes by a vote of 5 to 2.
Make one short comment. I would like the audience to just be reminded of the fact that there will be 3 new council members on January 1st, possibly a 4th. And if this is an important issue, it is something you should address to the people running for office that are part of this far election.
Bob?
In spite of what some of you in the audience may think, this is actually the best course of action if you really want a strong ombudsman. Because it isn't, I don't believe it could happen otherwise. And watch for 2 things. In labor negotiations, sooner or later, it's acknowledged we will have an ombudsman language in there, or that all of the language in the labor contract is removed. Either way, you can have an ombudsman, because other cities have passed an ombudsman without labor negotiations at all. And we have it kind of in between. The first portion of the ombudsman that was passed was within the contract, and the second portion was not, and has been found invalid as a result of the fact that it was not negotiated. So either it is all in, or it is all out. And either way, you can have an ombudsman.
Okay, Terry, we have no hearings, but we do have one first reading ordinance.
Ordinance C 34-781.